I, Sage Canaday,
And I, Sandy Napier,
pledge that I have and will always train clean, compete clean, and live clean. Stand with us at cleansport.org. Hi there, Coach Sage here with another rant, I guess we should say. I'm drinking a Avery Brewing Joe's Pills. Nice beer, nice and relaxing. And yeah, Sandy and I took that pledge earlier today. This is the logo we are holding up for the Clean Sport Collective, which is a new nonprofit organization you can check out at cleansport.org, O-R-G, at Clean Sport Co. on Instagram. I think that's their Twitter handle as well, hashtag Clean Sport Co. Also Clean Sport in general. And you know, this is an issue that I've talked about quite a bit. It's just something that really gets me fired up, and I think maybe some people might wonder, you know, why. And you know, first off, you know, disclaimer, I'm not a saint. I obviously drink beer, everyday alcohol, not a lot, I'd say, but I also drink caffeine. I love coffee, drink caffeine. You know, those are drugs, and at certain levels, especially in competition, those are actually banned substances by WADA. I'm not sure in the alcohol part, actually. That's usually a disadvantage in distance running, but definitely the caffeine as a stimulant. But you'd have to have, like, I don't know, 6 or 8 cups of coffee or something horrible like that, or take a bunch of caffeine pills, which I wouldn't do. And that, you know, that is definitely a controlled substance. So, you know, I'm not a saint, and I have bias. There's a lot of inherent bias in this, and I'll fully admit to that. We all have our own biases, and you see that in politics and diet and religion. But with the doping issue, or the use of performance-enhancing drugs in endurance sport, I mean, my bias is that I do this for a living. I do this. There's a lot of, well, not a lot, but there is money on the line, even in mountain ultra trail running, and it's something that I've been competing year-round in the last 18 years of my life. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into the sport. It's something I love. I love running. It's a passion, but it is a way of making a living for me right now, and it's a very limited time that I have, and it's also due to the support of viewers like you and the sponsors, but also there is prize money on the line, there's contracts, change in lifestyle on the line, and I realize a lot of people aren't going to be able to relate to that. You don't, run for a paycheck necessarily. Maybe you do, and that is a big reason, I think, why I'm so fired up and biased about it. Besides just the fact that I like to expose the truth. I like to get after things. I don't like it when people get shortchanged for any reason. And, just a bit of perspective, obviously this is a very minor little issue and problem in the grand scheme of the world, the grand scheme of things. There's so many atrocities out there, and violence, and totally, things that really need a lot more exposure and our attention, and that, definitely deserve way, way, way more of a focus. I mean, we got starvation, we got malnourished kids all over the world, kids dying of preventable diseases, violence, horrible atrocities, and all sorts of things, wars. So yeah, it's just running, really. And it's just a little part of running. So, I'm not totally disconnected from the world. I definitely live in the Boulder bubble, definitely live in a running bubble, and have been, it's a matter of perspective. So, don't lose sight on the big picture. But, in the small scheme of running, in the scheme of trying to carve out a profession or a career, imagine if someone stole from you at your job, at your work, at something you've put a lot of time and effort in for years and years, and really was passionate about, and then someone kind of tried to take that away from you. That's kind of how I feel when people that have finished ahead of me have gotten busted for drugs. And they have. And there's definitely people out there racing that are using these banned performance-enhancing substances. Now, that being said, there's all sorts of arguments and gray area stuff with different types of substances, with the penalties, with how things are enforced, with, who's going to pay for the drug testing, where's the money going to come from, is it going to raise entry fees for the mid-packers and, everyone else who's not necessarily competing for prize money or competing for a sponsorship slot or international travel perks or, the lucrative lifestyle of being a high-level distance runner. And that's all for debate. Where's the money going to come from? Well, cleansport.org, that's part of their funding issue. And actually, I will say I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, if we're talking about money. And I signed the pledge on there, which it's the pro athlete pledge part, and you could check it out. It's a great website, but it also says that not only will I would quit the sport if I got busted because I'm not taking anything, but if I happen to test a positive, and this is for all the other athletes that signed the pledge, if they happen to test a positive, they'll have to pay $25,000 USD to a charity of this organization. It's a $25,000 fine, regardless, and also a lot of it would be career ending and something I just walk away from the sport, but I'm not going to be in that position, and I don't want to walk away from the sport. You're reading stories about pro cyclists, guys in Tyler Hamilton's book, The Secret Race, I believe it's called. He talks about when they got pressured into using performance-enhancing drugs, and there were guys that were competing clean, and they're getting dropped from the peloton. Like, you simply did not stand a chance at that time in that area to like win the tour or even be up there. Probably if you weren't taking drugs. And I don't think that's a good justification though, but that was his justification. And there were clean guys that were riding that just got left behind and they just freaking walked away from the sport. And I respect those guys the most, because their careers got destroyed essentially, and you don't know their names because they didn't win, and they weren't up there in the peloton. But it's really it's disheartening, I guess, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole just fair play. Trying to have a level playing field and people that compete for the right reasons and run to see, if you could get the best out of yourself. And ultimately, you're cheating yourself if you're taking these performance-enhancing drugs. And I'm really, really concerned about the heavy hitters, the things like EPO, HGH, IGF-1, LR3, testosterone, anabolic steroids. I think there's other stuff going out there, but EPO is definitely probably the one that I imagine would get you training at a really high level as a distance runner, and also being able to recover super fast from really hard training so that you absolutely have quads of steel. And you see improvements of journalists doing this kinds of stuff, microdosing EPO for 7 or 8 weeks, and they get a 7% increase just in their VO2 max, and then their recovery is boosted, and then you're boosted for a long time because you get longer and longer benefits. And it's a game of recovery, and it's a game of being able to train really, really hard so you could get quads of steel essentially, and then your oxygen delivery is just elevated at everything, so your threshold goes up. And I could only imagine, but guys taking HGH telling their eyesight gets better, and as a professional athlete, even 0.5%, 1% improvement is everything. So, it's a really fine line. You're fighting at the margins, and drugs, especially the heavy-hitting PEDs, are a big, big deal in terms of competitive performance. And, people say, you drink coffee if caffeine, or, smoke marijuana, which is actually legal in Colorado. I don't take marijuana, I don't smoke pot, but it is legal. It is legal in the state of Colorado, and it's legal outside of competition. It's technically a controlled substance in competition. I'm not as worried about that. People lighten up on the trails. They're not going to be beating me probably. There's been claims that it helps with your stomach issues if you have nausea or something, but that's a minor difference. It is definitely a controlled substance and something I respect with WADA's code. But you know, the heavy hitters are EPO and HGH, testosterone, and whatever. I forgot what I named, but you know, that's what grinds my gears. That's kind of why it grinds my gears. Just when you see someone throw their heart into something and work really, really hard, and then get it kind of taken away because people are cheating the system. That just doesn't sit well with me. It's just plain wrong. It's stealing. It's you know, it's not fair. And you know, people say, oh, well, if everyone takes drugs, you know, everyone in the tour, up in the peloton, you know, they're all on drugs. It's a level playing field. It's never a level playing field. You know, some of those people doping, they had more money to get better drugs or better doctors, and there's a lot of corruption in that. And that corruption is what really just bothers me. And you know, it's not just PEDs in sport; it's corruption and other things too. But yeah, just, you know, it's not a level playing field. People respond differently to drugs. You could, you know, argue, people like to argue about altitude tents and, well, diet and nutrition and, you know, these things that, you know, people sacrifice to move to different areas, or, you know, people with more money have an advantage inherently if they could buy an altitude tent or they could buy better gear. To me, those are definitely differences. But I mean, that's everything in life's not necessarily fair. Whereas actually taking performance enhancing drugs, which I think are relatively kind of expensive, but not as expensive as people think they are, taking that is definitely what really, to me, it's absolute no, and something that I will always compete clean, 100%. I always have, I always will. And you know, if I get left behind, so be it. But that's my take on it. Definitely, you know, check out cleansport.org. Check out the movement, #CleanSportCo, at CleanSportCo on Instagram, and I believe they have a Twitter handle as well. And yeah, just spread the word if you're up for that, if that's something that you believe in also. Really, really appreciate the support. Thank you so much, guys. I should also say, actually, one final word is, especially in trail running, I think people get confused with substance abuse. Like, people have had history maybe with taking, with alcoholism or you know, even cocaine and things like that, and because they had a troubled childhood or a troubled young adulthood. And that's not in the same realm at all as microdosing yourself with EPO as to trying to get a competitive edge. You know, there are people with legitimate health problems and people that have struggled, you know, maybe with serious issues like depression or just, you know, had tough times in life, and they've used substances to cope. But it's totally different from, you don't accidentally microdose yourself with EPO or something like that to really gain a competitive advantage. So I just want to say, you know, to me, that's a night and day difference. And I respect those people that, you know, have found running as a way to cope from substance abuse problems. So that's a real big part, I think, of especially ultra trail running and part of the community. So it's not to say, you know, it's the people that are going for the performance enhancing benefits of drugs that grind my gears. That's all I'm saying. But thanks so much for all the support. Really appreciate all the feedback we got just on the Instagram and Facebook posts today with that little intro video that Sandy and I did. Racing, the training's going well. I feel pretty healthy. Knock on wood somewhere. That'll count as wood. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the Patreon supporters. Thanks for following along on social media. Again, I'm at Sage Canday on Twitter and Instagram, and Sage Canday fan page on Facebook. But really appreciate all your support. Hope your running's going well, and stay tuned for more via 2Max Productions.